again, everybody, to another installment of the Dead or Alive 5 Move Exhibition and Question Answering Series with no name. I am your host with the mostest, the Pervy Panty Pirate Pony Princess, the badass bitch, Blood 13 of the Rooster Teeth website. And this time, we're going to be doing Kokoro, who was one of the characters that was introduced in Dead or Alive 4. I'm going to go with her second outfit just because the kimono is pretty, but it's very distracting. This time I have a simple question, and it's basically not really a question. It's just it was a topic suggestion, honestly, but it's just, you know, talk about Digimon versus Pokemon. I don't understand why some people get so antsy about this shit. Whatever. So, for people who don't know, Pokemon and Digimon are two extremely different things. Pokemon is... I don't know how else to put it except, like, it's a completely different world, like a different reality or a different planet or something. And creatures that are Pokemon are just an everyday thing. They're like they're the natural animals of that world, basically. Like, in place of birds, like, instead of, like, swallows or whatever the fuck that we have, they have Pokemon that actually are equivalent to that sort of whatever type of animal. So instead of swallows, they have a Pokemon that I believe is called Talo, if I recall correctly, its lowest form. Instead of pigeons, they have Pokemon that are called Pidgeys. And it's just like that sort of whole thing, which, of course, in that world, does mean they eat Pokemon, yes. So, everybody can fucking calm down and stop asking that question, because that is what would be. But it would be okay, because that's what people fucking know in that world. It's just how things work. Now, meanwhile, Digimon, though, takes place in this world, like the world that we know, but Digimon themselves live in something called the digital world. So, I guess you could say they live in a sort of form of the Matrix where they live in computers, for lack of better terms. I don't know how to fucking describe it. I have not seen all of Digimon, but that's pretty much what I recall it being, is like the digital world is just the computer world to us. There we go. Christ. Kokoro is a bit technical too, actually. A lot of these characters are fucking technical. I just keep saying that whenever I have a problem with their moves, apparently. So, Pokemon versus Digimon, there are extreme differences between the two of them. Pokemon, you have to capture a Pokemon, and you can have as many as you want, like, saved away or whatever, but you can only carry 6 at a time. Digimon, you only ever get the one. It's sort of like, you get the one, and it's your partner forever, pretty much. It's like, I don't know how to describe it, really, except that it's kind of like in games where you have to choose something at the beginning of the game, and that forever determines what you have. Like, a Digimon is closer to, like, your weapon or your class or something in an RPG. Once you are, like, preset something, you usually can't change that. Another major difference between Pokemon and Digimon is the fact that, in Pokemon there's no... Well, there kind of is, like, an evil or a villain, usually in the form of Team Rocket or some other team, like, amalgamation of, like, not quite Team Rocket, but whatever the fuck. I can't seem to do this move. There we go. But so, yeah, but there's no real, like, evil per se. Most of the reason why people have Pokemon is because Pokemon are helpful. They're kind of like pets / helpers / competitive assistants. Because Pokemon can be used, like I said, they can be pets, which a lot of people actually have Pokemon for. It's like having a dog or a cat, basically. But then, like, even aside from that, there are people that have their Pokemon help them do certain things. Like, there's a Pokemon that's called Machoke that's just a really muscly Pokemon. It's a humanoid-shaped Pokemon. And it's, I believe, used as, like, part of a moving company because it's a strong Pokemon, so it's what it's good at. And Pokemon tend to like helping people. They like, I don't know, I guess it's sort of like a thing of like, they like being useful to the people that are nice to them. It's sort of like humans, really. It's like, oh, you're like doing all this for me, let me do you a favor kind of thing. And then, of course, there are people who battle Pokemon, which, you know, there was the whole, like, uproar about that from Peter or whatever the fuck, and whatever. It's all dumb anyways. But it's the whole thing of, really, it's like boxing or wrestling or whatever. The Pokemon who fight enjoy fighting. Plus, it's a thing of, like, I don't know how to put it, but also, like, in boxing or fighting, like, there's a whole thing of holding back. Like, they could very well kill their opponent, but they know not to. So, you know, they're gonna avoid it as much as they can. They might cause pretty hard injury to the person, or the other Pokemon, but they're not gonna fucking murder anyone, you know? At least not in most cases. That's not the point, though. So, Pokemon, like, the world of Pokemon, in the Pokemon games, whatever, those are the reasons why you fight, and it's just a whole thing that is what it is. In Digimon, though, generally, you're trapped in the digital world, or you're in the digital world with these Pokemon. You're fighting for survival, not so much for, like, competition or anything else. So, you don't really pick a Digimon for a pet purpose, and you don't pick a Digimon to help you out, and you definitely don't battle them competitively. At least not in a lot of the older series, you don't. So, like, it's basically just like a whole completely different thing. I don't know how else to describe it, really. I mean, the names themselves sound similar, but they themselves are different. Pokemon is short for Pocket Monster, and Digimon is short for Digital Monster. And, once again, it's that same sort of thing where Digimon aren't quote-unquote real, and Pokemon, you capture them, and then you get the Pokeballs, and then you store those in your pocket, pretty much, what the whole purpose of it is. It's like, it's basically the thing of, like, having monsters on your person, i.e. things that are real, and having digital things that are not real, that you can also have on your person, but that's because they're digital, and you can carry digital shit anywhere. I don't really know how else to describe it, honestly. Other than that, though, there's differences in evolution. Digivolving is not permanent, whereas evolution with a Pokemon is. Although now Pokemon have Mega Evolution. Turn around, bitch. That's a hard move. I'll skip that one for now. Pokemon have Mega Evolution now, which is kind of the same thing. They can evolve for one battle, and then they revert back to their normal form afterwards. But that's pretty much all there is there, so the only thing left is which one is better, and the answer is there is no answer. People like to argue a lot on the internet about what's better, which is stupid because, I mean, there's no arguing what's better to any given person. Somebody can like one thing way more than something else, and that's just their personality. I myself prefer Pokemon over Digimon, but that's because I got Pokemon first. I grew up with everything being Pokemon, and then Digimon came along later, and I got into that. Not to mention, Digimon is like, it's more of a series than it is a game. There have been games, but unfortunately there haven't been any good ones lately, which is sad, because there were a lot of really good Digimon games. And Digimon also started off as, like, Tamagotchi-style pets, and I never had one. I was, for some reason, like, I could never find one. Actually, no, correction. I couldn't find the originals. I had one that was the Digivice from Season 3 of Pokemon, or Digimon, and I had the thing everywhere, because it had, like, a pedometer in it, and how many steps you took equated to, like, how much you trained them and such. I had that thing forever, and I fucking loved it, and I have no idea what happened to it, and it bothers me to this day. Probably got stolen by my asshole friend that I used to have, but whatever. Let's see, though. Where was I with everything else? I actually don't know. So back to what I was saying to begin with, I guess. You really can't say that, like, Pokemon or Digimon is better overall, because it's all a matter of preferences. So, I don't know. I don't understand why people get so up in arms about, like, let's argue about which one of these things is better, because it's going to be different for each person, and each person has their own validation and reasoning as to why they think that way. it's not like they're saying it because they just want to argue with you. Some people are, but some people are assholes. Also, I need to do that. Some people are just assholes that way. So, you know, fuck those people, doesn't matter. But generally, it's just because everybody has their own opinion, and opinions are formulated based on personal experience, pretty much. So, I don't know. There's just no way to say which one's better, basically. They're both good, and for me, they're both major parts of my childhood, so I like them both. And that's really all I can think to say on the matter. So then, with that topic done, let's get this fucking move out of the way. Shit, I used to did it my first try. Alright, there we go. That was pretty amazing, actually, that I got that on my first fucking try after going away from it the first time. But anyways, that was Kokoro, and that was me answering Pokemon versus Digimon. So, another video done and done. Tune in next time for another character, another moveset, and another set of questions.